What is happening, guys? So, trying something new tonight. Here's what I'm going to be doing. Just be doing kind of like an overall betting / little bit of a DFS preview for Thursday Night Football. We've got projections already up for tomorrow's game. I want to look at some of the boosts that are available on FanDuel and DraftKings. Then any questions you guys have, we'll place some bets. I'll show you guys some bets that I've already placed. We'll go look at Tails, which you guys could go right over to tails.bet. You could download the app. You could follow me over there totally for free. And yeah, let's just hang out. Green check mark, you and me. At the very least, we got green check mark here. So if nobody else shows up tonight, I know you're here. So we could just have a personal conversation if nobody else ends up being here watching. If you guys have any questions at all over the course of the show, throw them into the YouTube chat. I'll throw them on screen. I'm going to see 100% of the questions that you guys have for me over the course of the show. I'm starting here on FanDuel. We've got a couple of boost bets available for tomorrow. Actually, one boost bet and then one touchdown jackpot. So the way that this works is you place a minimum $5 touchdown bet. And then if the player that you bet on scores either the first or the last touchdown, there's going to be a prize pool of like $2 million to get paid out to all those people. So the way that I like to look at these, it's not necessarily who do I think is going to score. That's part of it. But I want it to be who do I think is going to score, kind of combined with the idea of who is also not going to be picked very often by the field. So like, I don't just want to go out and pick the guy with the shortest odds, who I think is Trey Benson for tomorrow night. I want it to be somebody who I think has a good chance to score, but also has a chance to pay out a bigger portion of that $2 million prize pool. And then we've also got a boost bet here on FanDuel. This could be used for anything. To make this the most fun possible, I think we should build out a same game parlay and use the $50, 50% profit boost on that. And then I see green checkmark is saying that for pick six, there's a $5 no sweat. One issue with that, I cannot play or access pick six from New Jersey. So yeah, if I find some sort of workaround for that, I could work that in here in the future, but I don't have access to pick six at the moment because they don't operate in New Jersey, or else I would. But one other thing I know DraftKings has, it is a 3-leg parlay bonus. It has to be a same game parlay with at least 3 legs, and they have to be within a certain amount of odds. So we'll go and build that out after we go and look at the FanDuel stuff. As far as some of the initial projections that we have over on Stochastic, I'm going to be looking at some of our general player projections for stat projections here. I always think those are fun to look at. And then also for reference, just some of our fantasy projections as well, where you guys will see here, we've got initial projections up for the Thursday Night Football game, and quarterbacks not towards the top here. We've got JSN, kind of a big gap between him and everybody else. He's projected for 21.7 fantasy points. Then Trey Benson actually projected next. So there's a couple of key injury factors that are going to be relevant to DFS as well as betting for the game. And it's going to be the running back situation on both teams. So what you have going on for the Cardinals is Trey Benson is going to be playing a massive workload in all likelihood for the Cardinals, because James Conner, if you guys didn't see, devastating ankle injury. Leg basically snaps in half last week. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. Now you got Trey Benson is going to be stepping into a bigger role, probably playing the same kind of role that James Conner did. And then you've got the situation with the Seahawks running backs where Zach Charbonnet, he missed last week's game. I know he's officially listed as questionable. I tend to think he's going to end up playing tomorrow, though, because you have Zach Charbonnet. He practiced in full throughout the week. So even though he's officially questionable, I think he should be good to go. Assuming he does end up playing, Kenneth Walker at $10,400, way overpriced. It would be difficult to end up playing him in that kind of scenario, because if we go ahead and look at some of the snaps out of the backfield for the Seahawks. Yeah, so you see last week, the 53% snap count for Kenneth Walker, it's a little bit misleading in week 3, because even though Charbonnet was out, that game was so wildly uncompetitive that starters didn't play towards the tail end of the game. But you look at week 1, 40% of snaps for Walker, 58% for Charbonnet. Week 2, 35% of snaps to Kenneth Walker, 55% to Charbonnet. So with that being in mind, it is for DFS going to be hard for me to justify Walker at $10,400 if Charbonnet does end up playing. And then also, if we go ahead and look at some of the odds here, so we could start looking at some bets. What are the TD scoring props looking like? All right. So keep in mind, the way this works, we just have to place a $5 bet. And obviously, if that player scores, we get the payout. But if they also score the first or last touchdown, there's also a bonus pool that ends up getting paid out as well. Let's see, chat. What do we got going on here? Yeah, shout out to you guys. We got some of the regulars here. We got Lib Media Inc. saying, thanks for your guys' help. I've been lucky. Hit about 5K this year in winning and about $500 invested building the bank to get to using the tool. So shout out to Lib Media Inc. Malukar saying, go Tigers. Go Tigers. Yeah, Malukar, your Tigers. I don't know if you've looked at any of the posts that I've done on social media about it, but crazy improbable comeback for them. So I posted the odds yesterday. I accidentally mixed up the teams when I did the post. But as of, I think it was August 28th, the Guardians odds, or I should say the Tigers odds over on FanGraphs to make the playoffs were 100%. Their odds projected to win the division were 99.8%. And now we're looking at a month later where it's a tie between the Guardians and the Tigers at the top of the division. So, yeah, it's been a pretty crazy run out there. Shout out to Sotex. What's up, man? And then Rance saying he's got a Guardian stack there. Sotex building out his Express lineups. Yeah, no pressure. No pressure to be totally engaged. But if you have any thoughts or questions, just fire them into the chat. And then Stephen Leibowitz says he's seen these chat names somewhere. Yeah, a lot of the normal characters. We got our crew here. We got our crew here hanging out. And then also we've got green checkmark saying, is DeMarcado involved in the passing game? So I think that there's a lot of interesting things to look at when it comes to DeMarcado. Let's start looking at some of the touchdown prop bets. And by the way, almost never should we be betting FanDuel props for touchdowns because they're horrific odds. Like, look at this. We've got Trey Benson plus 105, Kenneth Walker plus 110. Compare that once again to our stat projection page. Like, we've got Trey Benson projected for 0.69 touchdowns. We've got Kenneth Walker projected for 0.44 touchdowns. And these guys are like even money to score touchdowns over on FanDuel. The only reason I'm even considering it is because of that $5 jackpot bonus where there's the extra money being thrown into the pool. That's the only reason that I think it's even worthwhile to consider some of the FanDuel touchdowns for here. But like I said before, I want to try to find somebody who I think is reasonably likely to score a touchdown that for one reason or another, I don't think the field is going to end up selecting to score a touchdown. So let's look at some of the red zone targets for both of these teams. Start with the Seahawks. All right, so Seahawks red zone targets, and this is also going to encompass any sort of rushing attempts. These are just touches that players are going to be getting as the team is closer to the red zone here, or I should say close to the end zone. So overall, Kenneth Walker, he is at 9 for the year. Charbonnet is at 6. Keep in mind, though, Charbonnet didn't play last week, so Walker has the extra game on him. Before that, we were seeing about a 50-50 split with a little bit more of the workload in the red zone going towards Charbonnet. As far as the pass catchers go, pretty spread out. No surprise, JSN leading the way for the pass catchers. And then the tight ends, pretty minimal workload for them in the red zone. You got 2 targets for the year for Elijah Arroyo. You got 2 for AJ Barner, 1 for Eric Saubert. All right, let's look at the Cardinals side. Cardinals side of the game. And keep in mind, basically all of the workload we were seeing to James Conner, it is all going to be going to Trey Benson going forward. Look at the snap counts. Week 1, 65% snap share to James Conner, 33% to Benson. Week 2 is 55-44. And then what happens last week? 30-61. But keep in mind, it's not like Conner played the entire game, then got hurt. So after you saw Conner get hurt, Benson played nearly the entire game after that. There was a little bit of workload that went to DeMarcado. So the question that we had in chat here from Green Checkmark, is DeMarcado going to be involved in the passing game? Let's look at his targets. Have we seen any targets? He got 1 last week. What was Benson getting before? Benson got 6 in week 2, 1 in week 1. Yeah, I think we could reliably say that DeMarcado is going to get probably 1 or 2 targets. He's probably going to be getting like a 25 to 30% snap share. He's going to be on the field a little bit. So, I don't know from what angle you're looking at it for, if you're looking at it for his props or for something else. But yeah, I think DeMarcado is going to get a little bit of pass game work. Probably nothing crazy significant. But yeah, 1, 2 targets. I think that's pretty reasonable to think could happen. All right, so a quick overview we did there of some of the red zone targets. Let's see, is there anybody who's getting red zone targets who's kind of far down here? What were the tight ends, by the way, for the Cardinals? And also, if you guys want to follow me over at Tails, I saw Jake threw it into the chat. Go over to Tails. Here, I've got a fresh account here where I'm not following anybody. Anybody you want to follow me, you want to follow Lofty, Eric, Ben, whoever it is, you can download the app. You can follow us all for free. Just search for my name, click on my profile, and then you can click follow me, and you'll be able to follow me in all my bets. You see here, same kind of deal that I did last year or during NBA season with my bankroll tracker. I restarted up, but over on Tails, changed the format a little bit because instead of just using bets from Portfolio V, some of the bets are going to come from the Odd Shopper data. Some of them are going to be my own bets that I originate, but still the same deal where I'm going to track all the results, be transparent with it. Started last week and profited 10.5 units so far. You can see my results from yesterday. Went 7-6, profited 2.59 units. So let's just follow me here on this account. And then if you go and look at the expert picks feed, if you go to the following, you'll see now all of my bets showing up in the feed. So let's look at my NFL bets. And then we'll get back to placing a FanDuel touchdown bet. Which ones are for tomorrow? So I've got an AJ Barner bet. I'll be honest, this bet was really just a line shopping bet. Over 1.5 receptions. It's minus 150 at BetMGM. Some other books. DraftKings has it minus 189. It's minus 195 at Hard Rock. FanDuel has it minus 210. So this was solely just an odd shopping bet where the AJ Barner line on BetMGM, it was pretty far out of line with what the other books are offering. Here's a Drake London bet. That's not for tomorrow. Greg Dortch. All right. So here's one that I have maybe like a little bit of a gut feeling / take on here, which is Greg Dortch. First off, he's 11-1 to score a touchdown. So pretty wide odds that I got. Well, the line has moved since I bet it, but when I bet it and posted it, it was 11-1. Another reason, download the Tails app, follow me, turn on notifications. So whenever I do post a bet, it'll get sent right to your phone. You get the best odds before the lines move. Greg Dortch is somebody who gets used in a lot of gadget plays. And he did have one rushing attempt last week after James Conner got hurt. I would not at all be surprised if there's a play or so drawn up for Greg Dortch down by the red zone is just kind of like a trick play or some sort of gadget play when you consider that the team's shorthanded in the backfield with James Conner being out. So like Tim has a long shot to score a touchdown. But as far as the odds go now on FanDuel, for the purposes of this boost bet, it's plus 650. Wildly different. It's plus 650 compared to plus 1100. And then one other bet that I have for tomorrow is Marvin Harrison, over 3.5 receptions. I think Marvin Harrison is just generally being undervalued right now. There's so much bias against Marvin Harrison because of how poorly he started the season. But now it's a really good buy low spot. The receptions prop here, it's all the way down to 3.5. If you look at some of the targets for him so far this year, 6, 5, 6. So he's still regularly going to be involved in the passing game. The projections that we have over at Stochastic. What do we have for Marvin Harrison? We've got him projected for 7.5 targets tomorrow and then nearly 4 receptions there. So I like over 3.5 receptions for Marvin Harrison. I think that's a pretty good look for a bet for tomorrow that I posted to Odd Shopper / Tails as well. But let's find our touchdown bet here. What were those tight end red zone targets? We got so far this year, 2 for Elijah Higgins, and then also 3 for Trey McBride. McBride typically, I know he scored a touchdown last week. He's typically not a guy who gets a ton of red zone looks. What about general targets? McBride, 24 for the year. Higgins is 6. Ryman has 4. We did see a little bit of shift here where Higgins got 1 target to 3 for Ryman. What was the difference in snaps? Let's see. For snaps, we had McBride. Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of shift here. Higgins only played 15% of snaps compared to 50% going to Ryman. So looks like Ryman might be playing a little bit more than Higgins now. Let's see. What do we have in chat here? Trendy Now says Doug Baldwin could be in play. Well, not very trendy to go with Doug. When did Doug Baldwin retire? Let me look this up. When did Doug Baldwin retire? Doug Baldwin's last season was in 2018. Not quite trendy. Say it's a little bit past trendy now. A little bit past trendy. He would have been trendy 10 years ago. And then Dustin Norton, best contrarian captain, Marvin Harrison, or is that just lighting money on fire? No, I think Marvin Harrison's a good buy low, and I think there's going to be a public bias against him in the DFS streets, just as like there. I mean, his receptions prop, like I went over before, it's only 3.5. I don't think people are going to want to play Marvin Harrison tomorrow. And getting back to some of the DFS projections, or what's our ownership on Harrison? We've got Harrison. Yeah, this is low, and especially the price point. On a showdown slate last year, Marvin Harrison would have regularly been priced $9K plus and still been popular. He's $7,800 and projected for 31% ownership. I'm not ready, and 5% ownership in the captain spot. I'm not jumping ship on Marvin Harrison quite yet. I know he had that horrific drop last week, and he's getting a lot of shitty publicity for it, but I think that's going to drive bias a little bit too far against him. You see right here, GoFi saying that Marvin is not a go-getter. Based on what? He was coming out of college last year. He was considered one of the best wide receiver prospects we'd seen in years. It was just a little bit of an underwhelming rookie season for him. And he's gotten off to a slow start this year. I think this is the lowest possible stock that you could see on Marvin Harrison in quite some time. All right, so I'm not all that interested in Tip Ryman or Elijah Higgins at these numbers. Some of these other guys too, like Michael Wilson plus 360, DeMarcado plus 400. I think here's maybe a little bit of an angle. All right, so this is going to play into the jackpot $5 bonus pool that FanDuel is paying out. If you go and look at our projections for the running backs here, we've got a pretty even distribution projected for Charbonnet and Walker. Charbonnet projected for 13.5 rush attempts. Kenneth Walker, 12.5 rush attempts. We do have Kenneth Walker a little bit more likely to score a touchdown. That's also reflected in some of the betting odds where you've got Kenneth Walker plus 110 to score a touchdown. Charbonnet plus 195. Here's what I think we should be considering, though. Charbonnet is officially questionable. And I think that is going to prevent people from using their jackpot bet on Zach Charbonnet. And if we go and play it, I think it's going to cause them to be under-owned relative to kind of how the payout of this contest works. And worst case scenario, let's say he doesn't play. All right, well, then if he doesn't play, no big deal. The bet just gets voided. I want to go to Zach Charbonnet. What's your guy? Are you guys confident he plays? Confident he sits? He's been a full practice the entire week. Officially listed as questionable, but he's been getting in a full practice. That's usually a good indicator to me that he's going to play. I think he's going to be under-owned. I'm going to go and use my $5 jackpot thing here. I'm going to go to Zach Charbonnet. All right. Why does it say that my location can't be verified? Well, that's annoying. All right. Well, I want to use it on Zach Charbonnet, but for whatever reason, it's not finding my location at the moment. We've run into new show. We've run into an early hiccup here. I also don't usually bet from this computer. That could be an issue. I might not have the geolocation thing downloaded here. All right. Well, afterwards, I'll end up placing the bet on Charbonnet. That's annoying. Live and learn. New piece of content. I've already fucked it up 10 minutes into it. Or 20 minutes in. Whatever. All right. Here's the other thing we got here. 50% profit boost. So we could use this on any bet we want. If we just wanted to bet a $10 boost on a side, that would work. But I want to have a little bit of fun. I want to build the same game parlay. And that's how I'll go about using it. GoFi says VPN. Here's the issue. I live in New Jersey. I could bet here. It's just the location's being a little bit wonky on this computer right now. Yeah, Sotek saying could be an IP thing, being on a different computer. Yeah, could be. Could be. I've been logged in on multiple computers today, plus my phone. And then Stephen Leibowitz says, the government is trying to find me. I'm not that hard to find. I'm on social media. I've got not the biggest presence in the world, but I've got some followings. We've all got cell phones. If they want to find me, they know where I am. Sotex, don't get in the windowless van. But that's where the candy is. Who doesn't like candy? Corey I. Jefferson, any Wilson love? Relative to his props, not really. For DFS, what's our projection looking like for Michael Wilson? $3,400, projected for 5 fantasy points, 20% ownership. There aren't that many good pass catchers around that price range. Let's see. 3,400. Who else do we have? Projected for decent amount of fantasy points for cheap. Assuming he plays, I really like Charbonnet at $5,400. He's been terrible this year. But with that said, it's a short week, but he didn't play last week. Kenneth Walker did start the year a little bit restricted. If Charbonnet is good to go, I just think he's underpriced at $5,400. You asked me about Michael Wilson, though. Just from a projection standpoint, he's going to make sense. Right? He's $3,400, project for 5 fantasy points. AJ Barner also looks viable here at around a similar price point. Trey Horton is projected for a similar amount of fantasy points, but is $2,400 more expensive at $5,800. Yeah, I think Michael Wilson, 20% ownership. He's a pretty reasonable way to save some salary. Same with Elijah Arroyo at just $800. I think he's pretty clearly the best sub-$1,000 guy. But yeah, I have no issue with Michael Wilson at all. No issues with him. What's some of our projection on him overall? Looking at the breakdown. So we've got Michael Wilson projected for a 10% target share. We got him projected for, 3.5 targets here, catching a couple of them. I have no issue with that. No issue with that. Fistulapu, usually just a little retry button on the bottom line, on the bottom, and it fixes. Yeah, what can you do? Nothing is ever seamless on the first go around. Never seamless on the first go around. All right. Let's do the profit boost. The other thing I'll do too is after I'm done with this, I'll actually place these bets from my phone and then I'll just upload them to Tails. And then you guys will see it populate right on my feed. So if you go over to tails.bet or download the app when I post it, it'll show right up at the top here. You'll see it under the NFL bets, or also we could check really quick. What are the baseball bets that I'm sweating right now? We're talking about the Guardians before. I did bet Jose Ramirez to homer today. I've got some Paul Skeens bets. I don't think Paul Skeens is going to work very deep into the game today. I do think we're going to see Paul Skeens limited, just considering where we're at in the season. So a couple of other baseball things that I'm sweating for tonight. But let's get to the boost bet, and let's look at some of the rushing props for both sides of the game. All right, so what are these looking like? DeMarcado's props are super low at 14.5. We've got Trey Benson at 58.5. Kenneth Walker's at 52.5. Nothing is currently posted for Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker's kind of interesting. If you are of the opinion that you don't think Charbonnet is going to play, I don't think that. I think that he will play. But if you think that he won't, Kenneth Walker's alt rushing yards are going to be pretty interesting here. You could get him for, like 80 rushing yards at plus 310, 70 at plus 200. That would be pretty interesting looks for an alt look to get ahead of some line movement before Charbonnet was to get ruled out, if you think that he's going to not play. So that is one way you could play. Not the way that I'm going to play it, but it is definitely something to consider. But if they're both in there, here's what concerns me. If you guys weren't here at the top of the show, and why, at least for the purposes of making out a same game parlay for the night before, I don't want to be touching the Seahawks backfield as of right now, because I personally do think Charbonnet is going to play. Snap counts. Back when we saw Charbonnet healthy, 40% of snaps went to Walker, 58% to Charbonnet in week 1. Week 2, 35% to Walker, 55% to Charbonnet. It's a nightmare. It's a workload split, and it's not something that I really have all that much interest in investing in at this moment when I think they're going to play. So I want to look more at Trey Benson and DeMarcado. And honestly, I like this number on DeMarcado. He's not bad. If you look at his overall numbers, he hasn't had work this year. But if you look at previous years for him, all right, Amari DeMarcado, he is averaging for his career 6 yards per carry. Still, it's a small sample size, but last year, 24 carries for 223 yards. That was 9.3 yards per carry. And then once again, 6 yards per carry overall for his career. This shouldn't be the expectation going forward, but 14.5 rushing yards, that's a line that I like for tomorrow. Jose Morales, what does my game script look like? Yeah, so let's build after I build out something for FanDuel here, I'll build a same game parlay out for DraftKings, and then I'll make that more game script oriented, that same game parlay. I actually don't even mind. I still want to build one out here for FanDuel. I wouldn't even mind using a 50% profit boost on DeMarcado for over 14.5 rushing yards, because I do think that line is too low for him. But that's one of the lines that stands out to me immediately for this game. What are some of the All right, the only longest rushing prop here is on Trey Benson. So that'll be a pass here. Let's see. For rush attempts, Kyler Murray, 5.5. Trey Benson, 14.5. Nothing looks massively appealing there to me. Or some of the receiving props. I might want to look at alt overs for Marvin Harrison. Just because, like I said before, I think there's upside here that people aren't really recognizing because they've just soured on Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison. Yeah, look at some of these lines. Like Marvin Harrison, plus 640 to have 100 receiving yards, plus 490 to have 90 receiving yards, plus 350 for 80 receiving yards. I don't mind laddering Marvin Harrison tomorrow. That's definitely something I'll be considering. What are some of the other props here? I don't really care about the alt lines of anybody else. Most receiving yards. This is also interesting. Marvin Harrison plus 600 to have the most receiving yards tomorrow. The overwhelming favorite has to be JSN. Getting back to some of our projections here. What do we got for receiving yards? Yeah, I mean, we've got JSN for 93 yards. We've got Trey McBride project for 70.5. Marvin Harrison, we've projected for 51.5. So, you know, I think that with Marvin Harrison, there's just a wide range of outcomes that's kind of hard to project for. I still think he's talented. That's where I want to look at some of the alt lines for Harrison. I don't know that I'd want to bet just the normal receiving yards line for him at 46.5, but some of those alt ones are kind of interesting. All right, so I've got DeMarcado in here. I'll throw in an alt line for Marvin Harrison. I'll go 70 plus receiving yards on Harrison. What are some of the passing props? Kyler Murray for 209.5. Darnold for 223.5. Touchdown props. Murray over 1.5 plus 136. Darnold over 1.5 plus 154. Most passing yards, Darnold, Kyler Murray. All right, so if I'm going to go with Marvin Harrison for 70 plus as an alt receiving line, I think that correlates decently here with Kyler Murray to have more passing yards than Sam Darnold. And then another thing we could do too in the receiving props. Let's see, is there an under for receiving yards? What's the number on JSN? 84.5. All right, so if we took under 84.5 receiving yards for JSN, I'll actually pass on that one. I was trying to think of a way to make it more likely that Kyler Murray leads the game in passing yards. By the way, shout out to Charles Moran. Yeah, if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm broadcasting this on the Odd Shopper channel, broadcasting it on the Stochastic channel. And yeah, it's a new piece of content. So if you guys like it, do like the video. It's really helpful because nobody's watched. YouTube doesn't know what to do with new content. All they do is they look at what are the metrics. Did people watch? Did they engage with the video? Did they like it? Did they not like it? So if you guys like this, it's more likely to get served up in YouTube to people. And then it's more likely that this will be a show that could be successful. Yeah, Daniel Barry, hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Yes, happy Wednesday. Trendy now, Trey Benson on DraftKings, like 5% owned, right? Is he? I feel like he's more popular than that. Yeah, he's 15% owned in the captain spot right now. He's going to be super popular. We've got him projected for more fantasy points than everybody in the game but JSN. All right, I want to find one more leg to add here. Reality check. They're warning me. I've been here for 36 minutes and haven't bet yet. They think something is wrong with me. I haven't placed a bet in 36 minutes. They're giving me a reality warning. The alert is to help you play responsibly. So they're implying it's irresponsible that I've wagered $0 in 36 minutes. All right. You could do even more to manage your play by editing this alert. All right. I will make sure that I bet more than... Also, it's not my fault I wagered $0. I tried to wager more money and he told me that there was a location issue. If it was up to me, I would have bet already. So what is the warning for? Yeah, Eric saying FanDuel gonna FanDuel. Yeah, they're warning me I haven't bet while also not letting me bet because I'm in New Jersey where I'm allowed to bet. I'm actually good with leaving it here. I'm not going to add anything else to this. I'll post this to Tails as well. So here's what I'll use the profit boost for. I'll try one more time to bet and see if the location works this time. Max bet is $10 for this. Let's give it another go. Hey, it worked this time. Okay. The location service from before okay, let's try to place the touchdown bet again. All right, so this went through without an issue. Let's go back to the touchdown scoring bet with Charbonnet. Will it work this time? Will it work? If it doesn't work, okay. All right, I don't know what the hell happened before, but we're good. No issues. All right, so we got the Charbonnet bet in. We also were able to bet the same game parlay. It was 50% profit boost. We went with Marvin Harrison for 70 plus yards. Also got Mercado. I just thought that was a line that should be a little bit higher, over 14.5 rushing yards for him. And then also we went with Kyler Murray to have more passing yards than Sam Darnold. Technically, it was more passing yards in the entire game, but who's going to have, who else is going to be even relevant to that? So let's go over to DraftKings now. I just have to log in because I got logged out on DraftKings while I was building out the FanDuel stuff. All right, so I logged in over here. Let's drag this screen. See if that works. It did not work. Let me try refreshing. There we go. Now it worked-ish. We're close to working. We've got the loading arrow. Now we're here. Cool. All right, so the boost that's available on DraftKings for Thursday Night Football, it is a 3-leg same-game parlay. Has to be minimum of 3 legs. We could do more, but minimum of 3. And then we get, forget what the boost was, 25% maybe 30%. Here it is. All right. Details. All right, 33% same game parlay boost. The max bet is $5. Opt in, already did that. Minimum total odds of plus 300 or longer. And then it doesn't say anything about odds for individual legs. All right, so we just need to build the same game parlay, plus 300 or wider, 33% profit boost. And the most I could bet on this is $5. All right, that works. That works. Let's see what we got in chat. Yeah, green check marks, 3-leg parlay. Nate saying there's also a ghost leg token for Sunday. Yeah, I haven't looked too much ahead to the Sunday slate, but those ghost legs are pretty good deals. They're definitely something to be taking advantage of. All right, let's go to the game now. Cardinals, Seahawks. All right, so we got the question before about what is my preferred game script for this game. I think it is going to be higher scoring than what some of the odds suggest. So when Jose Morales, this is a different question. So I don't like the Seahawks backfield. Yeah, so for the Seahawks backfield, assuming that we have Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker both playing and non-restrictions, I don't like Kenneth Walker. For DFS purposes, I like Charbonnet at $5,400 just because he's cheap. I think that Kenneth Walker would be overpriced. And then for betting purposes, I just don't have a really good feel for what the workload is going to be split between the two. So I would stay away from their props for that reason. And then the other one, here was the comment from Jose I wanted to bring up. What does my preferred game script look like? I think this game is going to be, in all likelihood, a little bit higher scoring than what the betting line suggests. So let's build a card here, assuming that we get a little bit of a shootout. So I'll start by going with over 43.5 points. Bonus available. Also, no sweat touchdown bet. Okay. I didn't even see that on the other screen. Receiving props. What do we have here? Over-unders, JSN 83.5. Marvin Harrison 45.5. I want to look at some of the alts for Marvin Harrison again, though. Let's go Harrison for 5+ receptions. And then also Marvin Harrison. Oh, no, sorry. That was first quarter I selected. Marvin Harrison. Here's 5+ receptions. 149, plus 149. And where's his yards props? 60 plus, plus 160, 70 plus. I'm going to do the same as before. I'm going to select the 70 plus. So I got these three legs are giving us plus 550 odds. Let's take the over on Kyler Murray's passing prop. I'm also going to take the over on Sam Darnold. Let's compare these. If we scroll down, where's the passing yards? Here, over under. All right, for Kyler Murray here, 220.5 is minus 113. But here, 220 plus is plus 106. Yeah, I'd rather take that number. 230.5 for Sam Darnold on top is minus 102. For his over-under, 220.5 minus 112. I'd prefer the minus 225.5 number here. Let's see what the other alt numbers are here for him. 220 is minus 130. This is also why it kind of makes sense to look at the different odds that are posted. Because look at this. Sam Darnold to have 220 or more passing yards on his alt line is minus 130. But then for him to have 225 here is minus 112. That's actually not too egregious. But I'll go with the 225 number. And let's take one pass catcher. Let's go with one pass catcher from Seattle as well. Yeah, Trendy now says Marvin Harrison redeems himself this week. I agree. I think he's going to redeem himself. Nate says, if you opt in, bet a 3-leg for tomorrow night, you get a ghost leg for Sunday. Good to know. Good to know. Sotex, we have a pulse on the field's ownership of Walker yet? Sort of. I don't think it's going to be like a super accurate one just because we don't have confirmation on what's going to happen with Charbonnet. But Kenneth Walker, as of right now, we do have Charbonnet in our projections. It's really hard to imagine that Walker is going to be all that popular if Charbonnet plays because he's $10,400. Like they priced Kenneth Walker as if Charbonnet is going to be out. So assuming Charbonnet is in, we've got Kenneth Walker projected for 17% ownership overall, 2% in the captain spot, which honestly I think is a little bit too high if Charbonnet plays. Because look at the other pay-up options and the projections that we have. JSN, 21 fantasy points. Kyler Murray, 17 fantasy points. Sam Darnold, 16 fantasy points. McBride, 17 fantasy points. Trey Benson, we have for 17.5 fantasy points. Kenneth Walker, 11 fantasy points. Like just from a projection standpoint, he is such an inferior play to the other guys around him. All right, Green Checkmark is saying Cup for 40 plus. What some of his targets looked like so far? Targets for Cup. All right, Cooper Cup. 3 targets in week 1. That did go up to 10 in week 2, 3 in week 3. I think you can make a case for Cooper Kupp here. I don't want to put too much stock into what happened last week because that game was over so quickly. And if you're the Seahawks, consider all of the guys they have on their team. In a game where it's a blowout, Cooper Kupp's the first guy to come off the field, right? He's not somebody who's going to be playing a massive amount in a game that is lopsided. So yeah, if you go and look at snap counts, all right, maybe I should take that back. The data just proved me wrong here because he played marginally more than these guys, but still. 54% snap share for Cooper Kupp in week 3 compared to 69% in week 2, 88% in week 1. But yeah, actually some other guys like a JSN ended up 49% of snaps. So we did play slightly less than Cooper Kupp. So sometimes the data will make you look stupid. But anyway, I do think that the targets we saw from Cooper Kupp, getting back to that number, 9 targets in week 2, pretty crazy. 3 targets, 9 targets, 3 targets. Let's look for some of the upside on Kupp, and instead of the 40 plus, because keep in mind, we're kind of playing this for a shootout. Let's look at some of the alt lines for Kupp. All right, Cooper Kupp, 40 plus is minus 125, 50 plus is plus 121, 60 plus is plus 178. I like the 50 plus line a little bit better. What's the normal line for just over under? 41.5 and minus 113. What was the 40 plus again? 40 plus was minus 125. Yeah, so I mean, going back to this before, I'd rather play 41.5. If you were just picking one of these, I'd much rather play 41.5 at minus 113 than 40.5 at minus 125. Let's go to the 50 plus on Cup. And then we've got, all right, so we've got the over. We've got Marvin Harrison for 5+ receptions, Marvin Harrison for 70+ receiving yards, Kyler Murray for 220 passing yards, Sam Darnold for 225 passing yards, Cooper Kupp for 50 receiving yards. Plug in the boost, and that gets us to 2660. It's going to be hilarious if they don't let me bet $5 here. Let's see. Nice. All right, got it in. All right, so there's the boost that we have for DraftKings tomorrow. $5 bet to win $138. And I don't think any of that is unreasonable either. Going back to the lines we have here. Like, who kills us here? Marvin Harrison again. 5 catches, 70 yards for him. Kyler Murray, 220 passing yards. Darnold, 225 passing yards. Kupp, 50 receiving yards. Total over 43.5, which, you know, if both quarterbacks can go over their passing props, we're a little more likely to hit the total. Who do you guys think is most likely to kill us on that? Spaz says, first time betting at Hatchu. Did I just say something like insane? I don't know what this means. His name is Spaz. If you could retype that, I'll be happy to answer the question if I can understand it. What you? Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, I think I figured it out. Yeah, I'm just being an idiot. First time betting, what do I recommend tonight? Here, I'll go back to Tails. So one thing you should do, I recommend you go over to Tails. Just go to tails.bet or download the Tails app. Just search Tails Expert Picks on your Apple Store, Google Play Store, whatever kind of device you have. Follow me, follow Lofty, follow Eric Lindquist, follow Ben Raza, follow Josh Engelman. Josh is doing great NBA write-ups to get people ready for the NBA season. Let's see, what bets have I placed that haven't started yet? This has already started. Yeah, so 742. What are some bets for later? I did bet Lars Nootbaar plus 900 to homer. Those odds are mostly still there. It's plus 890 on DraftKings. That's still playable. It depends what you're looking for. Our friend Spaz here. Are you looking for a long shot bet? Are you looking for a little bit of a safer bet? Because I do like Nootbaar at plus 900 to homer. I posted him for a quarter of a unit earlier. Yeah, Skeens has already started. That game's already started. Yeah, so these are the baseball bets I haven't played today. Roll the dice on Nootbaar. Roll the dice on the Nootbaar homer. Build your bankroll right now. How are those baseball games going? Let's see, was I on the right or the wrong side of Paul Skeens being limited? Probably so far on the wrong side because he is only at 57 pitches right now and almost threw 4 innings. So he might throw like 65 pitches and still throw 6 innings. We'll see. What else has happened? What else happened in the baseball games? Tigers Guardians, that's still 0-0. Rays Orioles is 3-0. Has anything exciting happened there? Not really. All right. Anything else you guys want me to look at? We built some boosts. We used the boost for DraftKings. We used the boost for FanDuel. Is there anything else you guys would like me to see on the show going forward as well? Because we could do whatever on this show. This is my own time here. We could show up. I could do exchanges. I could go into my Kalshi account and we could look for stuff to bet on the exchange markets. I didn't end up loading that up for today. Decided to kind of limit the things to just DraftKings and FanDuel for tonight, so that I didn't have too many things I was covering on my first day. Bushy McBush tailed the Nootbaar homer. Awesome. Yeah, maybe I'll do some sort of giveaway if Nootbaar ends up homering. Jonathan Ortiz got an offer. Chuba Hubbard and Baker for Josh Allen. Should I take it? Probably not. I assume it's Chuba Hubbard and Baker Mayfield for Josh Allen. No, that is a pass for me. That is a pass. Pass. Already pulled that up. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for us, guys. No more questions here. So thank you all very much for watching. If you have not done yet, like the video, subscribe to the channel, whether you're watching on Stochastic or OddShop, or if you're watching on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. And then also, if there's anything you want to see me do on any of these shows going forward, something I didn't cover you think would be helpful, let me know, because I could absolutely incorporate that into future shows. Looked at some DFS as well. If you guys didn't watch this show all the way through, if you're just tuning in late, you could always go back and watch it in post as well. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, go to Tails, tails.bet, download the Tails app, go follow me for free. I'm going to have bets posted there every single day. We're going to be tracking it and build a bankroll together. So guys, have a good night. See you tomorrow. Peace.